The wind was dry and hot on Gareth 9. The planet looked empty, but it was not. It was a death world full of dangerous life and deadly weather. Only strong people or fools came here. Myra was not a soldier or a fighter. She was just a young science explorer. She had brown eyes, sharp thinking, and a strong heart. She came with a small research team to study the ancient ruins found on this world. Their camp was set up near an old stone tower. The tower was cracked and blackened by time. Myra stood in front of it, holding her scanner. The device made strange sounds. It was picking up a weak signal, something very old and unknown. "There's a pattern," she said softly. Her teammates were busy behind her, setting up equipment. Myra stepped closer to the tower and touched the stone. It felt warm. Suddenly something happened. Her eyes widened. A voice echoed in her head, but it wasn't hers. "Do not move when they come. Not a finger, not a breath. Stand still, or you will die." Myra jumped back. Her heart raced. She looked round. No one else seemed to hear it. Was she imagining things? That night, the team sat around a small heat lamp. They laughed and shared food, not knowing that it was their last night. Above them, hidden in the hills, they watched. They were called the hollow beasts, apex predators made long ago to kill. They were not animals. They were smarter than most alien species. They moved like shadows. Their skin was black and smooth. Their eyes glowed with hunger. At midnight, the camp fell silent. The first scream came from the north tent. Then another, then silence. Myra woke up, her heart beating fast. She grabbed her flashlight, but before she could turn it on, she heard it. Heavy breathing, just outside her tent. She froze, then she remembered the voice in her head. "Do not move when they come." She stayed still. Not a breath, not a twitch. Her body wanted to run. Her brain screamed at her to move, but she didn't. The tent flap slowly opened. A dark shape entered. It sniffed the air. Its long claws scraped the floor. It stopped right in front of her. Myra could feel its hot breath on her face. She didn't blink, didn't cry, just silence. After a few seconds, the creature turned and left. Myra didn't understand why she was still alive. She waited a full hour before moving again. When she finally crawled out of the tent, the camp was destroyed. Bodies were gone. Blood marked the dirt. She was the only one left. She walked slowly toward the ruins. The tower stood tall and cold now. The signal from earlier was stronger. As she touched the stone again, the voice returned. "You listened, you lived, others ran." "They always run." Myra's hands shook. "What are they?" she asked aloud. "They were made to hunt, not smell, not think, just see. They attack anything that moves. Even gods feared them." She sat down, still in shock. Her mind was spinning. Her team dead, the monsters hunting. And her she had stood still and survived. Hours passed. The sun rose over Gareth 9, but there was no warmth, only silence and dust. Myra stayed near the ruins. She found an old food pack and ate quietly. Her eyes were always watching. Her ears listened for the beasts. Then she saw them again. 3 black shapes, moving across the rocks in the distance. Fast, silent. They were searching. She hid behind a broken pillar. One of the creatures stopped near her, its head tilted. It sniffed. Myra held her breath again. Her body froze. The creature walked closer. It passed within 2 meters of her. Her legs hurt from standing so still, but she didn't move. She stared at the ground. She counted the seconds in her head. 5, 10, 15, 20. Then the creature stopped. It turned its head slowly and looked right at her. Myra's heart nearly exploded in fear, but she didn't move. The creature stared at her, confused. It growled softly. Then it turned away and walked off. Myra almost fell when her legs finally moved again. Sweat ran down her back. Her hands shook. She sat against the pillar, eyes wide, breath fast. "They didn't see me," she whispered. "They don't understand." Stillness. Her mind started thinking fast. Maybe this was the way. Maybe there was a way to beat them, not by fighting, but by thinking, by understanding what they feared. And now they had missed her twice. She stood up slowly, watching the horizon. The death world was no longer just a trap. It was a chessboard, and Myra had just made her first move. The wind blew gently across the rocks of Gareth 9. The sun was hot now, but Myra didn't move. She stood behind a broken pillar, watching the 3 black creatures in the distance. The hollow beasts moved slowly, searching, sniffing, hunting. They had passed by her again. She had not moved a single inch. That was the second time. She sat down carefully, keeping her back to the stone wall. Her legs were tired, but her mind was sharp now. Her fear had not gone away, but something else had started growing inside her understanding. "These things don't hunt by smell," she whispered to herself. "They don't see heat. They attack anything that moves." That voice in her head, it had saved her, but who or what was it? Myra took out her datapad. The battery was almost dead, but it still worked. She checked the last scan from the tower before her team was attacked. The signal was ancient, but it wasn't just a signal, it was a warning system. Something left behind to stop these monsters. Someone knew they would come back, she said. She stood up and looked around. The area was wide open. The beasts were gone for now. She needed a new place to hide, somewhere high, quiet, and easy to watch from. She moved quickly toward the cliffside ruins. It took her an hour to reach it. Inside, the structure was half broken and full of dust. Mira entered slowly, no signs of the creatures. She moved to the second floor and looked out through a wide crack in the wall. From there, she could see the entire valley. And she saw something terrifying. One of the hollow beasts was below her, standing still, staring at her hiding spot. Had it seen her? No, she hadn't moved, but it stood there, as if it was thinking. Myra stepped back, slowly. Her heart was racing. She crouched behind a wall and waited. 5 minutes past 10. No sound, no movement. Then she remembered what she saw in its eyes. It wasn't just a hunter, it was learning. Mira knew now she had little time before they figured her out. She needed to learn faster than them. She looked through the old ruins. Broken machines, stone carvings, and shattered control panels filled the halls. Then she found a dark room. A small round device lay at the center. She touched it. The same voice returned, soft, ancient, inside her mind. One has listened, one survived. Who are you? Myra asked out loud. I am memory. I belong to those who made the hollow beasts. We created them to destroy our enemies. But they destroyed us instead. Myra swallowed hard. How do I stop them? She asked. They do not understand silence. They fear stillness. The more you move, the more they win. Myra nodded. Then I'll use that. She spent the next few hours hiding and watching. She saw how the hollow beasts moved in a perfect circle around the area. They searched in patterns. They paused. They sniffed. They stared. But they never attacked until movement happened. When a small alien bird flew overhead, one beast jumped and grabbed it mid-air. Instant death. But when the wind blew and rocks moved on their own, the beasts ignored them. They only see movement that has life in it. She whispered. She took a datapad and drew out a plan. If she could make things move without her being there, she could distract them. She remembered that her team had left motion sensors and noisemakers in the crates. She needed to get them. That meant going back to the destroyed camp. Night fell again. Myra moved like a shadow, crawling across the rocks, stopping every few steps to listen. When she reached the old camp, the air was cold. The fire pit was full of ash. Blood was still on the ground. She opened one of the crates. Inside was a motion drone, small but still working. She powered it on and programmed it to float and wiggle randomly. It took off and began moving through the trees nearby. Within minutes, 2 hollow beasts appeared from the darkness. They moved toward the drone. One of them leaped down. The drone zipped higher. The beasts chased it. Mira didn't smile, but inside, she felt a spark of hope. She grabbed 2 more noisemaker devices and ran back to the ruins. Her legs burned, but she didn't stop until she was safely inside the cliff structure again. There, she set the first trap. She placed the noise device under a large stone rigged with loose gravel. When a beast moved toward the sound, the weight would shift and the rocks would fall out enough to distract or trap it. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was a start. Myra stood at the top of the ruins and looked out at the death world again. The hollow beasts were moving faster now, searching harder. Maybe they had started to realize she wasn't like the others. Let them come, she whispered. Let's see who learns faster. But then she heard it, a soft sound behind her. She turned slowly. A hollow beast was already inside the ruins. Its glowing eyes stared into hers. She froze. Myra stood frozen. The hollow beast stood just 10 feet away. Its black skin shimmered in the dim light. Its sharp claws clicked on the stone floor. Its glowing eyes stared straight into hers. She didn't move, not even a blink. The creature took one slow step toward her, then another. Myra's heartbeat grew louder in her chest, but she kept her face calm. Her legs felt like stone. She remembered the voice in her head. Do not move, not even a breath. The hollow beast sniffed the air. Silence. Then it stopped. Its head tilted like it was confused. It growled very softly, then turned around and walked back into the shadows. Mira waited 5 more minutes before she finally sat down. Her legs were shaking. Her hands were cold. But inside, something had changed. I did it again, she whispered 3 times. Now she had stood still and survived, but each time it got harder. The beasts were coming closer. They were smarter than animals. And now, they were starting to watch her more carefully. She had to do more than hide. She had to think like them. She had to beat them the next morning. Mira started working. She gathered whatever she could find inside the ruins: metal pieces, energy cores, and scraps from old machines. She connected her datapad to a half-broken control panel. It sparked to life. A small green light blinked. Yes, she smiled. She opened her bag and took out one of the noisemakers she grabbed from the camp. She rewired it to connect with the old control panel. Now, she could control when the noise started. From a safe distance, she placed it near the center of the ruins and backed away. Hiding behind a pillar, she pressed the button. The device made a sharp whistling sound. Within seconds, 2 hollow beasts came running. They moved like ghosts, fast, silent, deadly. They stopped where the sound came from. They looked around, but found nothing. Then, something strange happened. One of the beasts slowly circled the area. It stepped carefully, sniffed the stone floor, and looked up at the tower walls. Mira's eyes narrowed. They're thinking, she whispered. They're learning. She watched closely. The beast walked to the exact spot where she stood the night before. It sniffed the air and looked straight toward her hiding place. She didn't move. After a long pause, the beasts finally left. Later, as the sun dropped low in the sky, Mira explored the deep chambers of the ancient ruins. She found a locked stone door and used her datapad to open it. Inside was a round chamber filled with strange symbols on the walls. At the center stood a machinal, dusty, but glowing faintly. She touched it. The voice returned. "You are not like the others. You are learning." Mira asked. "How did I stop them? How do I beat them?" "They were created by a species who ruled the stars. They made these hunters to destroy their enemies. But the beasts became too perfect. They stopped obeying. They killed their masters." Mira nodded. "They only attack motion. They only see what moves, correct? But their leader, the Alpha, can learn. It is not like the others." Mira's breath caught the Alpha. It copies what it sees. If it sees fear, it becomes fear. If it sees strength, it becomes stronger. Mira understood. She was not just hiding anymore. She was being watched by the Alpha. That night, Mira climbed to the top of the ruins again. She had a plan. She placed metal pieces and shiny glass panels in a half circle. She tied her motion drone to a long wire and set it to fly low over the rocks. Then, she placed a noisemaker near the drone's path. She activated the trap from far away. The noise sounded. The drone flew low. One hollow beast jumped toward the drone. As it chased the sound, it crashed into the glass panels, confusing its vision. It spun around, lost, disoriented. Then the wire pulled the drone straight into a broken machine, where Mira had set sharp metal spikes. The beast was impaled. It screeched in pain. Mira crouched low and watched as the other beasts howled from the hills. One was dead. She had killed a hollow beast for the first time. She smiled, but her smile didn't last long. She looked up far across the valley. On the edge of the cliffs, she saw a single beast standing alone, bigger than the rest, stronger. Its eyes glowed brighter. It was the Alpha, and it was looking straight at her. Back in the tower room, Mira spoke to the ancient voice again. "It saw me. It's watching everything I do." "Yes," the voice replied. "Now the game changes. The Alpha does not chase. It waits, it thinks, and soon it will do what you did." Mira's heart sank. "It will copy me." "Yes, you taught it fear. Now it will teach you something back." She stood in silence. She had killed one beast, but now she had awakened the most dangerous one of all. The night air on Gareth 9 was cold and still. The stars above the ruins were bright, but Mira didn't care. Her eyes were locked on the distant cliffs where the Alpha beast had stood. It was gone now, but she knew it was still watching. She sat alone inside the ruins near the chamber where the old voice had spoken to her. The light from her datapad glowed softly. She rewrote her trap design again and again, changing small parts. Her hands moved fast, her mind sharper than ever. "They're watching me," she whispered, "but now I'm watching them too." Mira no longer planned just to survive. She had already done that. Now she was planning something else. She was going to fight back. By morning, she had her next trap ready. It wasn't just a noisemaker or a fake drone. It was a full trap made from the ruins' old defense systems. Sharp metal spikes hidden under stone plates, broken energy coils, a mirror wall to confuse their vision, all controlled by her datapad. She called it the Echo Trap, but to test it, she needed to take a big risk. She had to bait one of the beasts on purpose. Mira moved through the rocks toward the hunting path. She had studied their movement for 2 days now. She knew they always passed through a narrow canyon at midday. She stood in the middle of the canyon, wide open. Her heart beat fast. She counted in her head. 100 seconds passed. Then she saw it. A hollow beast stepped into the canyon. It stopped, its head tilted. It saw her. It moved fast. Mira turned and ran. Not too fast, just enough to keep it interested. She led it between the stones, through the crack in the cliff, up the slope right toward the Echo Trap. She passed through the mirrors and slipped into the hidden corner behind the wall. Her breathing was loud in her ears, but she stayed still. The beasts followed. It stepped into the trap. A high-pitched sound activated. The walls echoed it in strange patterns. The beasts growled, confused. Then the floor under it cracked. Metal spikes shot upward from below. The hollow beast screamed. It tried to escape, but its legs were caught. The energy coils shocked it again and again. Its body twisted and broke. Then silence. Mira stepped out. The creature was dead. She had done it. Her first kill. She stood over the body, shaking. It looked different now. Smaller, less powerful. She stared into its empty eyes. "You're not perfect," she said. But then she heard something, a sound from the cliffs above. She looked up. The Alpha stood on a high rock. It didn't move. It just stared at her. Then it howled. The sound echoed across the valley. Mira stepped back. The other hollow beasts answered the howl. 4, 5, maybe more. They were angry. They were coming. Mira ran back to the ruins and sealed the main entrance with fallen stones. She placed noise traps all around the outside walls. Then she climbed to the highest part of the tower and sat in silence. Her hands were shaking again. She spoke to the AI voice in the chamber. "They know I killed one of them. Now they'll never stop." "Yes," the voice said calmly. You broke their record. For thousands of years, no prey has survived them. No prey has killed one, until now. What do I do? You think? You adapt. As they do, Myra looked at the valley below. The beasts were gathering. She could see them in the shadows, but the Alpha was not among them. She knew it was planning something, just like her. Hours passed suddenly. A trap near the north wall activated. A loud screech followed. Then another trap, then silence. Myra checked the scanner. 2 hollow beasts had entered the ruins and were now dead, but it felt too easy. She checked the back wall and froze. One of the traps was missing. Not destroyed. Removed. Soft growl echoed inside the ruins. Myra turned slowly. From the darkness, a black shape moved. It didn't run, it didn't jump. It walked calmly. The Alpha, its eyes burned brighter than the others. It didn't growl. It didn't roar. It watched her and smiled. Myra had never seen them smile before. The Alpha stepped toward her. It moved, like a person, now smooth, slow, careful. She raised her hand. She didn't reach for a weapon. She didn't run. She just stood there still. The Alpha stopped. They stared at each other for a long time. Then the Alpha turned and walked away into the shadows. It didn't attack. It didn't run. It had seen something in Myra, something it recognized. That night, Myra sat under the stars again. She had killed 3 beasts now, but more importantly, she had won the Alpha's respect, or maybe its curiosity. It didn't just want to kill her anymore. Now it wanted to understand her, and that made the game far more dangerous. To be continued. Myra didn't sleep that night. She sat high in the ruins, watching the valley, holding her datapad close to her chest. The stars above her seemed to quiet. Even the wind had stopped moving. It was the first time she felt the silence was not peaceful. It was warning her. The Alpha beast had looked into her eyes and walked away. It had seen something it didn't understand, and now it was trying to learn. At sunrise, Myra searched the outer ruins. The traps she set last night had been touched but not triggered. Small rocks were moved, wires were pulled just enough to disable them, and strange marks were drawn near the walls. 3 circles and a line. She didn't know what they meant, but they weren't natural. "It's talking to me," she whispered. "Or maybe playing with me." She climbed to the control room again and activated the ancient AI. "The Alpha is learning. What do I do now?" Now the voice said, "You must outthink it, or it will outthink you." "Can it really become like me?" "Yes, and worse." The Alpha was made to learn from enemies, to grow stronger from every loss. "You gave it the first challenge in centuries." Myra stared at the ancient machine, thinking she had no army, no backup, no weapons, only her mind, so she decided to use it. She started building again. She changed her trap patterns, no longer simple sounds and movement. Now she created false targets, shadows, heat sources, and even recordings of her own voice. She placed mirrors in the hallways, so the beasts would see 10 versions of her moving in different directions. She used pieces of armor from her dead teammates to dress a dummy, and sent it running with a drone. And then she sat still, hiding in the ruins, watching what the beasts would do. By evening, 3 hollow beasts entered the ruins. They fell for the traps, the noise, the lights, the heat. 2 of them were killed, but 1 turned and ran. It didn't fall for the dummy. It didn't fall for the dummy. Looked around, then it stopped at one of the mirror walls and smashed it. Behind the broken mirror was a hidden camera. The beast growled and ran away. Myra watched it. Escape. That one was different. It had thought. It had chosen not to attack that night. Myra found another strange symbol outside the tower. 3 circles again, but this time 1 was crossed out. "It's keeping score," she said softly. "It's showing me what I've done, and what's coming." Suddenly a sound behind her. She turned fast. A stone rolled across the floor. No beast, just silence. She stood perfectly still for 5 minutes, then slowly walked back to the tower. But when she entered her control room, her datapad was gone. Panic hit her chest. She searched everywhere, then she found it, not broken, not stolen, placed carefully on top of a stone, open to her trap designs. The Alpha had taken it, read it, and returned it, like it was answering her game. Myra sat in silence. For hours she realized the Alpha didn't want to kill her anymore, yet it wanted to beat her in a different way. A mental hunt, a game of brains. She opened her datapad and recorded a short message, just 3 words. "I see you." She loaded the message into a small speaker and placed it deep in the ruins where the Alpha would find it. She left the area and waited on the cliffs, watching through her binoculars. 2 hours later she saw it. The Alpha walked into the ruins. Alone, it entered the room. It stood in front of the speaker. The message played. "I see you." The Alpha didn't move. Then it smiled and walked away. Myra sat down on the edge of the cliff, shaking. She had just spoken to the deadliest creature in the galaxy. And it had smiled. Back in the tower, Myra asked the AI one last question. "What happens if the Alpha learns everything I know?" The voice answered slowly. "Then it becomes you. And if I fail, then your mind becomes its weapon." That night, Myra found one final message outside her hiding place, a single mark on the stone, a circle split in half. She didn't know what it meant, but she felt it in her bones. The final move was coming. The Alpha wasn't just planning to kill her, it wanted to defeat her completely. No weapons, no traps, just one final test. A battle of minds, a moment of stillness, a game between the girl who learned to stand still and the beast that learned to think. The morning came slowly on Gareth 9. The light from the sun stretched across the dead rocks, painting the ruins in a soft golden glow. But Myra didn't see it. She sat in complete silence inside the tower, her hands resting on her knees, her back straight, her eyes open but not moving. She had been sitting still for over an hour, waiting. She wasn't hiding anymore, she was inviting the Alpha. All her traps were disarmed. Her drone was turned off. Her datapad was left on a rock, with one message blinking across the screen. This ends now. The Alpha would see it. Mira knew that, and it would understand that it wasn't about survival anymore. It was about who could remain calm, who could remain still, who would break first. Myra heard a soft sound, a footstep, barely a whisper, then another. She didn't move. Out of the corner of her eye, a dark shape stepped into the tower. The Alpha beast. Bigger than ever, stronger, its muscles were tight, its claws sharp, its glowing eyes focused. It walked slowly toward her. Myra stayed motionless. It circled her once, then again. No growl, no roar, no attack, just quiet. The Alpha sat down across from her, only 5 feet away, and then it stopped moving to dot. Now they both sat in silence, still watching, waiting. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Mira's back hurt. Her legs were going numb. Sweat rolled down her spine. Her eyes burned from not blinking, but she didn't move. Neither did the Alpha. A light breeze passed between them. Dust floated in the air, but neither of them followed it. It was a battle of minds now, and time was the weapon. Suddenly the Alpha tilted its head. It raised one claw slowly, not to attack but to point. Behind Myra, a noise echoed. Rocks falling. She knew it was a trick, but still her brain screamed, "Turn around." She didn't, not even her eyes, and the Alpha smiled again. Another 10 minutes passed. Then something changed. The Alpha stood up. Myra felt its presence looming over her, but still she didn't react. Then, softly it roared, loud and deep. The ruins shook. The sound echoed into the hills. Other hollow beasts answered the call. But Myra did nothing, not a blink, not a breath. She didn't fear the roar. She had heard worse. She had heard worse. She had survived worse. The Alpha stepped forward again. It leaned close to her face. Its eyes stared deep into hers. It growled a low, threatening sound, but Mira saw it clearly now. There was no hate in its eyes, no hunger, only confusion that it couldn't understand her. Stillness, it couldn't break her will, and for the first time in its long life, the Alpha took a step backward. Mira slowly blinked. Just once, it was her move. She stood up, calm and quiet, facing the Alpha. Directly, "I'm not your prey," she said softly. The Alpha growled. "I'm not your enemy either," she added. The beast lowered its head. It wasn't a sign of fear. It was a sign of respect, and then turned and walked away. Myra followed. To the edge of the ruins, she stopped on the high rocks and watched as the Alpha stepped into the valley below. Dozens of hollow beasts waited there. They stood still, watching. The Alpha looked back once, then it roared again. But this time it wasn't a roar of hunting. It was a signal of retreat, and the pack followed by sunset. Gareth 9 was quiet again. No more shadows moved in the rocks. No more glowing eyes stared from the cliffs. They were gone. She had won. Not by killing them, not by outrunning them, but by outlasting them, by becoming what they could never understand. Still, calm, silent human. Later, Mira returned to the chamber and spoke one last time to the AI. "They're gone. You ended the hunt," the voice replied. "You did not defeat them with weapons. You defeated them with thought, with silence. Will they come back? Maybe, but now they know. One human stood against them and did not fall. That memory will stay with them." Myra nodded. She looked at the tower walls one last time, then stepped into the desert wind. A shuttle from orbit landed 2 days later. The rescue team found Myra alone near the ruins, alive, calm and quiet. They asked her what happened. She only said, "I stayed still." As the ship lifted off, far in the distance, the wind blew through the empty stones of Gareth-9. And somewhere out there, deep in the wilds, a shadow moved silently across the rocks. The Alpha paused, and stood still for one long moment, as if remembering her.